Back doing another movie review today. Um, haven't done one in a while. Been pretty busy working and doing the family thing. Um, it's getting close to being Halloween pretty soon, a couple weeks. So figured I'd continue on with some horror movies. Now probably after Halloween, I'm gonna probably start doing some other kind of movie reviews. Probably not gonna be all horror. Probably going to be some other ones. Kind of want to get into some other films, but being that it's October, I just feel that it's, need to stick with the horror theme for a little while anyway. So I'm going to start a series review, and today I'm going to be reviewing 1960s Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. Now, Psycho is like I said, it was made in 1960. It was directed by Alfred Hitchcock. Stars Anthony Perkins as Norman Bates. It's got Vera Miles in it. She plays Lila Crane. John Gavin as Sam Loomis. And it's got Janet Leigh on it, obviously, as Marion Crane. And you got a couple other characters that are pretty noteworthy. Nobody that I can really think of offhand, but that really makes the story go. But anyways, the version of this cycle, the one that I have, is pretty much it's pretty much, I wouldn't say it's bare bones. It's got some storyboards on it, behind the scenes photographs, but really nothing huge when it comes to bonus features. When this movie came out, it was kind of a shocker for people. Now obviously they had already made movies in color before this, so a lot of people asked me, why is this movie done in black and white? And they had color back then. Alfred Hitchcock's reasoning for that is that he thought if he did it in color, it would be too bloody of a movie. And he really wasn't into like showing gore and blood. They really didn't do that in film yet, and he wasn't really that kind of a director. So obviously you got the famous shower scene in this movie. Where they use different types of camera angles and everything. It's kind of fascinating, actually, to listen about that. Now, this movie's really cool. I've always liked Psycho. I like all the sequels. Most of them. I think the only one I don't have is the remake one that was done in the 90s with Anne Heche and Vince Vaughn. It was basically all it was a ripoff of the original. It was like shot scene for scene. And I thought if they had done it a different way, it could have been better, but they pretty much just followed it from the first one, and it was not real good. What else can be said really about Psycho that everybody already doesn't know? Obviously, Anthony Perkins did a great job playing Norman Bates. I can't imagine anybody else playing him, especially for this time. It came out in 1960. It was a black and white film. Now, when I was a kid, I went to, my parents took me to Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida. And we went and saw they had a Psycho thing, like an Alfred Hitchcock thing going on. You could go see the birds in 3D that he had done, which was pretty cool. And then they had like a replica of the house that was used in the movies. And they just had a guy up on stage basically like showing you how they did like the shower scene and the different film angle or the different camera angles and stuff. all really interesting. Wasn't really old enough at the time when I went to really appreciate it, I guess. I would appreciate it a lot more now than I did back then, but it was still fun. I still remember it. I think I was only like 13 or something when I went, so a long time ago. But yeah, Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. I mean, it didn't really spawn out a bunch more movies, I think, but a lot of people consider this to be the first original slasher movie. Because then you had Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then you had Halloween, and then the Friday the 13th movies came out, and you had a couple other ones in between there, but nothing really noteworthy. But Psycho to me is pretty much started like a new wave of horror. I just loved the way Alfred Hitchcock worked. I've seen a lot of interviews with him and stuff, and he was a really interesting kind of guy. I think he was a pretty complex guy. He really knew like he really knew what he was doing. He just was a very competent director. Unfortunately, I mean, he made many movies, but this is probably his most famous movie. This and The Birds, I would say. Maybe a few other ones. I haven't seen a whole lot of his movies, just because it was a little bit before my time, and I really never got into the 60s and stuff of movies. I never really got into that genre. There are a few like Vincent Price movies and stuff that I like that were made in the 60s and early 70s and whatnot that were good, but never really got into them. This was the only one that ever really caught my eye, this and The Birds. This movie won it was nominated for 4 Oscars. I believe it was made in California. A lot of it was made in Phoenix, Arizona, it says. I didn't know that. Yeah, I mean, this is on, if you go on like a top horror movie list, this is on the top of the list. This is the upper echelon of movies as far as scary go. Horror movies. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else to say about this movie. I mean, everybody knows about Psycho. It's got the famous shower scene in it. Anthony Perkins has got some kind of a disorder where one minute he's Norman Bates, charming, very nice, well together looking guy, and he has a dark side. I mean, we find out later in the sequels that he had a mom that was really fucked up. She was just out of her mind. And then we know later that he ended up killing his mom, and her boyfriend was strychnine and basically poisoned him with the rat poison there. I mean, he had a messed up childhood, and we can see now. They have the TV show out now. It's been out for a couple years now. Bates Motel. I can honestly say I've never watched an episode. I've seen bits and parts of a few of them. So I kind of get it, but I don't know. I like these movies. They're just not my favorite. I don't like them enough to. I guess I just didn't care about the TV show. It just didn't interest me really. I mean, it shows him as a kid and like progresses, to show how he became. But that's what Psycho 4 was all about. Was the beginning. Showing you how. So, to go back and show me that in a TV show, maybe to some people that was interesting. Now, I know like a couple of my cousins watched it and they said it was great and they loved it and they just couldn't get enough of it. Like I said, I just couldn't find the desire to want to watch it. I already seen it in Psycho 4. I get it, like I don't need to re-see it, I don't know. So, I mean, it is what it is, I guess. Yeah, I mean, The music in this movie was great. Not really sure who did it. Couldn't really tell you. Let's see if I can pull it up. Music. Bernard Herrmann. I knew that. Yeah. Bernard Herrmann. Yeah. I mean, this score is great. I mean, who could forget like the score in this movie? I mean, it's cool. Now I noticed in later sequels that they didn't use this theme. I don't remember because it's been a while since I've seen these, but I don't remember if like they used them a little bit, or not at all. But like in the second one, I know it was a completely different theme. They may have used parts of it. I can't remember, but they should have used the theme in all of them. I thought, like I don't know. The theme in the second one was okay, but I don't know. So, anyways, that's really all I got to say about Psycho. If you've never seen it before, I mean, you've been living under a rock for the last, like, however many years. If you're into horror movies and you've never seen Psycho, definitely check it out. Sequels are just as good, almost. I'd say, I don't know, I'm kind of torn between the first one and the second one. It's just a matter of opinion, I'm not a huge fan of black and white movies, so this is probably one of the only ones that I do like that is a black and white movie. There's a few other ones, but not too many. So, anyways, 1960s Alfred Hitchcock Psycho. Never seen it, check it out. My next review will be on Psycho 2. Thanks.